GLD80 has 8 effects engines based on the acclaimed system in the iLive digital console. These rack units can be recalled from an extensive library consisting of reverbs, delays, modulators such as ADT chorus and flanging, subharmonic enhancing effects and a gated reverb. You can install and recall setups of the effects rack using the GLD80 scene manager. For example, you may want to save different programs and settings for each song a band is going to play. To access the effects, press the FX screen menu. You will then see the effects rack and a thumbnail of any unit loaded into the slots. For each slot, you can select the type of unit you want from the library list. Simply highlight a slot, then choose from the available menu. Touch a thumbnail to see the controls and settings for that unit. You will now see the front panel controls for that effect, which can be adjusted by touching the on-screen control. Use the rotary control to change the value of the settings. You can scroll through live all the available programs for that effects type by highlighting the name and using the rotary control. Once you have the settings you like, you can save them as a library item for recall later or moving via a USB stick. Simply press Store New, type a name and press Apply. The default patching for an effects unit is for its input to be sourced from the GLD80 internal effects send buses. GLD80 has 30 configurable buses, so you have plenty available to be used as internal sends to the 8 rack effects. To check the bus configuration of the mixer, go to the setup screen, touch the config, mixer config tabs. You will need to dial up the required number of effects sends for the effects units you want to use in internal send and return mode. The outputs of the effects unit by default will appear on what we call input effects returns or short channels. These are in addition to the 48 input channels and have 4 band parametric EQ. Remember to assign these effects and input effect strips to the surface of the mixer, if they are not already configured. If you select an effects return, you will see the EQ section illuminate on the processing strip. Once an effects unit is loaded into the rack and has signal routed to it, you will see the corresponding metering levels next to the thumbnails and on the selected effects I/O section in the lower part of the screen. To send to an effect, make sure its master input send level is up and simply press the blue mix key on that effects channel. Notice how the channel faders are now showing send levels. Send signal to FX1 from the input channels using the faders. Press and hold reset and touch the FX master mix key to return all the channel sends to off. You can also press mix on an input channel and adjust the effects send levels to all the effects units individually. Let's hear some of these effects.
Relay the heat out of the sun. Smash the ceiling. Have you felt it? Yeah.
Effects units can also be patched in other ways. To see how an effect is connected, press the rear view button. Now you can see, for example, effects unit 3 is set up as an internal send and return. You can also source the send from an individual input channel direct out. This can be useful, for example, you need a lot of buses for monitor send and you have an instrument that requires reverb or echo in the house or monitor mix. Choose the send as that instrument's channel direct out, and now the level center of the effects will follow the fader. Remember to check the global direct output source settings in the setup menu. Another way to use the effects is as inserts. Effects can be placed in line with input or output channel processing on mono or stereo channels. Let's insert a reverb effect across a stereo aux mix. Now you will see the effects front panel will display a wet and dry control, so you can adjust the amount of program you hear in relation to the original signal. There may be occasions where you want to return an effect back down full input channels. This can be useful when you need dynamics processing for the effects in a mix, or if you want to output the effects to another system via port B interfacing, such as recording or monitor splits. To do this, select the rack effects unit from the drop-down menu in the input channel source patch bay. Note, the short returns will now disappear.